Indiana lawmakers prepare to meet the president as the fight over redistricting continues. We'll hear from one of Indiana's 7 Republican representatives who announced their support for redistricting, Congresswoman Victoria Spartz, and from a Republican state lawmaker, Jim Lucas, who's still opposed to the idea. Plus, the Marion County clerk shares her thoughts on the president's proposal to end mail-in voting. Now on this week's edition of In Focus.
I don't think you need a ceasefire.
We live under each day attacks.
President Trump meeting with Ukraine's president and other European leaders this week at the White House. We'll talk about that meeting with our panel, and we'll discuss another big meeting at the White House this coming Tuesday with state lawmakers from Indiana as they face mounting pressure from the Trump administration on the issue of redistricting ahead of next year's midterms. State House reporter Hannah Adamson has the latest.
In a span of a few hours on Monday, all 7 House Republicans representing Indiana took to social media, all expressing support for President Trump's plans to redraw Indiana's congressional lines years before the next census comes out.
The pressure is just beginning. The president, the White House political director, they can put an incredible amount of pressure on the Indiana legislature to conform.
Congresswoman Victoria Spartz tweeting in part, quote, Indiana will have the chance to respond to Democrats' gerrymandering and stand with President Trump. Congressman Jefferson Shreve saying in part, quote, I support the president's call to counterbalance radical blue states. Hoosiers can help turn this tide. We spoke with Congressman Jim Baird about how redistricting could affect his district earlier this month.
I think it's appropriate, and apparently there's a lot of people that think it's appropriate right now to take a look for Indiana.
Despite political pressure from D.C., Governor Mike Braun says there's no firm answer as to whether state lawmakers will agree to redraw lines if he calls a special session.
I'm not going to call one unless there is going to be general agreement that we need to. Here, you'd have to make sure that most legislators want to do it.
This comes as Republican state legislators prepare to head to the White House next week.
I don't understand the pressure being put on Indiana.
State Representative Jim Lucas is one of those lawmakers. He says redistricting early is a short-term fix at best, and that the push from Washington distracts from other policy issues most important to Hoosiers.
And we have a lot of great things going on without having to allow ourselves be distracted by something, in my mind, is just dumb as hell, like this.
When the Indiana House last redrew lines in 2021, Republicans said at the time they had improved 2011 maps and that those improvements were fair.
That now we can say that 8 of the 9 congressional districts are within a single person.
I'm extremely pleased with the end result.
People are going to think what they want to think. I think we can stand behind coming here presenting very maps that met the goals that we had.
That was Hannah Adamson reporting. This week, Senator Jim Banks was also among those who weighed in supporting the idea. He said redrawing the map isn't just about politics, it's about restoring fairness, in his words. In response, State Rep Kerry Hamilton said the irony is staggering. This isn't about fairness, it's about consolidating power. This week, we also caught up with Indiana Congresswoman Victoria Spartz.
My district was very competitive a few years ago, still competitive, so even if it's more competitive, I'm fine with that. Ultimately, you need to go on the ground and win the people you represent, and they make decisions, but maybe having more competitive district actually will be good for all of us, including in Indiana.
And amidst that discussion on redistricting this week, the president is also trying to make the case for additional reforms at the ballot box that would surely cause controversy, as he suggests an executive order to get rid of mail-in voting altogether. We'll get reaction from an election official here in Indiana in just a minute. But first, Washington correspondent Hannah Brandt has a closer look at the president's proposal.
President Trump is waging a new fight
to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt.
He says his lawyers are working on an executive order to stop mail-in voting.
You can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots.
The president argues mail-in ballots make election fraud easier.
But there's no evidence at all that this is actually a problem.
George Washington law professor Paul Schiff Berman says not only is mail-in voting totally legitimate, the Constitution gives Congress power to make federal election rules and states the power to run elections, not the president.
The president really doesn't have any constitutional power to make changes in the way states conduct elections.
The White House says election reform is a top priority for the president, but acknowledges he may need some legislative help to make changes.
I'm sure there will be many discussions with our friends on Capitol Hill and also our friends in state legislatures across the country to ensure that we're protecting the integrity of the vote for the American people.
Berman says the White House may face an uphill battle trying to pressure lawmakers to pass reforms, but predicts the president's rhetoric could have other consequences.
One is that it may depress the mail-in voting of his own constituents, which would actually hurt Republicans.
And he says there's a concern this undermines faith in the election system.
That is, I think, tremendously destructive of democracy long term.
Berman says it's also unclear exactly what the president wants to do, and whether he wants to eliminate absentee voting, commonly used by service members overseas, or whether he just wants to eliminate mail-in voting for the general public. In Washington, I'm Hannah Brandt.
All right, let's get some reaction now to the president's proposed executive order. This week we spoke with the Marion County Clerk, Kate Sweeney Bell, an Indianapolis Democrat who says such a move would be devastating for our democracy. Here's our interview now with the county clerk who oversees the election process in Marion County.
What is your reaction to the president's latest comments about mail-in ballots?
I don't think my initial reaction is probably suitable for television. An executive order is issued as a directive to federal agencies only. So I think that here in Indiana, I'm perhaps foolishly, but I'm counting on common sense to prevail, because it is clear that voters of all political parties really appreciate the ability to mail in a ballot, and to take that away for purely political reasons is not something that seems like it would be a Hoosier value.
Do you share any of his concerns about the mail-in ballot process?
None of them. It is a secure process that is handled in a manner in every county in the state in a bipartisan way. There are Democrats and Republicans looking at each and every ballot that comes into our office. And to say that there is some issue with that is, it rings false. And it is 100% inaccurate.
Our interview there with County Clerk Kate Sweeney Bell. Also this week, some big economic news in Indianapolis as Google seeks to build a giant data center on the southeast side of Indy. Their plans just cleared a major hurdle despite a lot of opposition from people in the Franklin Township community. Our Russ McQuaid was there this week.
This is what the proposed site looks like today. This is what a Google data center complex would look like from the surrounding roads. A 10-foot high buffer topped by landscaping and trees that would partially obstruct the view of the closest 50-foot high buildings.
There's great care to be taken, and you can see in the future conditions that the emphasis is not on building, but rather creating a campus that can blend in to the surrounding neighborhoods.
Data centers demand excessive amounts of electricity to run their systems and water to cool them.
The developer will be responsible for 100% of the cost for new construction or upgrades to existing infrastructure, to the electrical grid, sanitary, municipal water, directly attributable to the operation of the proposed data center.
But neighbors describe the Google site as, quote, a monstrosity.
Residents are already being asked to put up with substantial traffic, noise, pollution, utility rate increases, and water and power concerns.
Key to the opposition is the testimony of City County Councilor Michael Paul Hart, who is an IT consultant who examines and develops such plans as a profession, and he argues against the decades of tax breaks Google says it needs to build the campus.
They have brought combined 500 jobs and have abatements for less than 7 years and take up a fraction of the space in compared to this proposed data center, which would bring about 50 jobs, consume far more energy, and provide far less in return, both in jobs and tax revenue, as a benefit to the community.
After the commission voted 8-1 to approve the rezoning, the neighbors were angry.
Do not vote for them. It's not about party anymore.
And that was Russ McQuaid reporting. Frustrations over this new data center come as state leaders put a big focus on building more data centers in Indiana. We heard from Governor Braun on that topic recently. Over the summer, the IEDC approved 4 large-scale data centers. Governor Braun said he has some concerns. In a recent interview, he said he wants to make sure the jobs at these data centers are high wage and high quality. He's also concerned about the potential drain on local energy supplies.
I'm going to try to be the leading governor on making sure that we get the newest type of baseload electricity, which will probably be around SMRs, the safe nuclear systems.
Governor Braun also expressed the desire to make Indiana a leader in nuclear power, which would involve building all new plants. The governor believes nuclear power would run at a lower cost, provide higher efficiency, and reliably power the coming data center boom. Well, also at the State House this week, a new and expanded role for Indiana's Secretary of Education, Katie Jenner, who's just been named to an additional role as Commissioner of Higher Education. The commission voting on that decision Friday, with the current commissioner stepping down in October. Meantime, the end of DEI at the State House is now hitting state contractors as well. This week, Attorney General Todd Rokita says companies doing business with the state of Indiana can't engage in DEI practices either. The Attorney General says his decision is about ensuring fairness across the board, while opponents say he's dismantling years of progress. And then there was this scene at a town hall in southern Indiana featuring Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith this week. 2 people were arrested, one tackled to the ground after disrupting that town hall, leading to a fight and some chaotic moments there in Newburgh. Coming up next, we'll talk with our panel about the fight over redistricting, and you'll hear more of our interview with Congresswoman Spartz as she discusses the latest from Ukraine as well. And later, state lawmakers discussing the important topic of medical debt and how that conversation could impact you and your family. Straight ahead.